Well, at the end of 3 years, I was transferred to what was then Palestine. And I ended up in a very small medical depot in what was then a little village called Kiryat Motzkin, which is now part of Haifa, the north of Haifa. But I'd heard in Sudan that if you really, from another Christian, if you really want a blessing, there's a little children's home in Ramallah, which was then a small Christian village, Christian nominal, not what we'd call evangelical, run by a Danish lady. And if you really want to be blessed, that's where you need to go. And I mean, during that period, hundreds of soldiers from the forces, American, British, Australian, New Zealand, went to that little home where the lady, whose name was Lydia Christensen, had a little family of 8 fatherless girls. And when the soldiers came in, Lydia would wave them to the seat, to a chair, and say, "Kneel down," and they'd start to pray. And the little girls would start to pray, and the Spirit of God almost invariably fell. So I thought, I need this. After 3 years in the desert, I need some refreshing. So I made my way from Kiryat Motzkin to that home in Ramallah, and I was so impressed by the peace. Military life is not a peaceful kind of life, even when you're not fighting. But there was such an atmosphere of peace in that home. It was like stepping out of one environment into a new environment. And there was very little peace all around it, because an Arab village is not a peaceful place. So when I got back to Kiryat Motzkin, I had plenty of time, because I was supervising a team of Basuto soldiers caring for bales of medical supplies. It was not a challenging job. And so I would walk up and down in the midst of these bales, praying and worshiping, and almost invariably I would speak in tongues. Now, by this time I'd learned that I didn't have to take the interpretation. I said to God, "Do I always have to interpret?" He said, "No, you make the decision." Because, believe it or not, I interpreted everything I spoke in tongues for a while. So I was walking up and down, and then the Spirit of God came on me, and I spoke very powerfully in a tongue. And I knew I'd got the interpretation, which wasn't lengthy. But it was God speaking to me personally. And in those days, he spoke in King James English, which is, the pinnacle of the English language. It's declined sadly since those days. And there are certain advantages, because you distinguish between the you plural and thou singular, which you can't do in modern English. And this is what the Lord said to me, and I remember every word. "I have called thee to be a teacher of the Scriptures in truth and faith and love, which are in Christ Jesus for many." Now, I was still a corporal. All the electronic media and all that had not developed. But since that, which is now 49 years, God has fulfilled his word. And I don't want to be boastful, but to give God the glory, I regularly teach millions of people every day, because my radio broadcast is in 10 languages besides English, 5 Chinese languages, Russian, Spanish, Arabic, Mongolian, and Tongan. And it has been going for 6 or 8 years into China, in Chinese, and into Russia, in Russian. And literally millions of people listen every day to that teaching. I say that just to demonstrate the faithfulness of God. He said, "For many." I wouldn't have had any conception at that time of what many would mean.